Happy New Week to you. It's Monday, or whatever day you watch this. Happens to be Monday today. I'm recording this. I want to share my lessons from last week. It was so many. I was trying to write down the ones that kind of stood out the most. I am so glad to be on the other side of practicums. Oh my goodness, that it takes so much out of you, but I'm so glad that I was practicing self-care and just taking care of myself during that time because it's a lot. So I want to share my lessons from last week. Okay, number one, I heard this quote and I had to write it down. I had to keep sharing it because it made so much sense for me. The absence of boundaries is the presence of chaos. The absence of boundaries is the presence of chaos. A lot of times we have chaos in our lives. We're unaware that we need to set boundaries. So if you got some chaos going on in your life, look at that area and see where can you implement those boundaries, right? Sometimes you have to implement boundaries on the spot, right? And here's the thing about boundaries. Nobody needs to approve them. They don't. They're not going to like them. They're not. I'm telling you right now, they're not going to like them, and that's okay. It's not for them to like. It's for the protection of you and the relationship, okay? Number two, you must be very intentional about taking care of yourself at all times. At all times, especially during the times when you're going through a lot. You got to make sure that you are intentional about your self-care. I was intentional about my self-care for this past week because I knew what all I had to do, and I know that it takes so much mental capacity, it takes so much physical and emotional capacity, and I didn't have much left in the tank for anybody else or anything else. So there were things that I was saying no to. I turned down money opportunities. I turned down conversations, like I turned down going places, like I was just focused on this thing that I had to do because that was those were the goals. That's what I said I wanted. So I had to make sure that I was committed to what I said I wanted, right? When it comes to setting goals, it's important. Nevertheless, don't overlook your health. How did I say that thing? Setting goals is important. Nevertheless, if I don't, okay, setting goals is, yeah, so this is what it is. I had to remind myself. Setting goals is important. So we had to talk about on our homework for the Legendary Speaker Challenge, which I attended, the days I could attend last week. And she had us write down who would we be if we do that thing that we're scared to do, right? And so people had all kind of big, bodacious goals. My main concern was my health, because if I don't take care of my health, having and wanting these things are not going to even make sense. What sense would it make for me to be a millionaire or a billionaire and my health is declined? Like I'm not taking care of myself. I'm not eating healthy. I'm overweight. I'm borderline diabetic. Like what sense does it make for me to want all of that stuff and not want to take care of myself? So for me, what's important to me is my health. So I'm going to make sure I change the trajectory of my family's bloodline. A lot of people in my family have diabetes. A lot of people in my family are overweight. A lot of people in my family have high blood pressure. A lot of people in my family have heart issues. I don't want that for myself. So for me, the most important thing for me is my health. I mean, your health is your wealth. So I have to make sure that I am making wise decisions when it comes to my health, when it comes to eating, when it comes to exercising. I have to become somebody who is health conscious, who is health aware, and so I can teach people in my family, hey, eat these things right here if you got inflammation. Eat these things right here if you got heart issues. Because we just eating, just think about it. Growing up, all we saw was just people just celebrate. They don't even have to have a reason to celebrate. They cooking out, they eating all kind of stuff that's unhealthy for them. They got a whole pig on the grill, all kind of stuff that we see growing up. It's okay. And you keep eating these things, you're going to turn into them. Now you got all kind of stuff going on inside your body. Like it's so much, right? We have to unlearn these things. Like that's not healthy. You can put some grilled chicken out there. Everything don't have to be all just bad for you, right? So really just turning that whole thing around and looking at it differently and also sharing the information that I'm learning with my loved ones. And also something I learned when it came to this experience was feedback from safe people matters. sometimes we get feedback and it could feel like criticism. Sometimes it is criticism. So it's important to get feedback, and it's also important to get feedback from safe people, because everybody ain't safe. There's some people that just say stuff and it's like, what in the world? Like, why would you say that to somebody? Like, that's ugly. People say, I get it a lot, and I take it with a grain of salt. You have to be mindful of who is giving you that feedback, and you want to make sure it's a safe person in a safe space, right? Another thing I wrote down was people lie, patterns don't. People lie, but patterns don't. Look at their pattern. A lot of times we're like, well, they said this and they said that, and I'm like, they're saying all of that, but what are they doing? Because people lie, patterns don't. So pay attention to their pattern. Patterns don't lie. If this person is showing you, I'm not even telling you, because people talk, they lie. But this person is showing you that they don't care nothing about you, that they're not good for you, then you need to take heed to that. If you continue to walk into that situation, if you continue to let them in, then you are at the hands of your own suffering. Simple as that. People lie. Their patterns don't. Another thing I had wrote down here was, if other people don't want to grow, I'm okay with that. And then check this out. I want to read a line out of my devotion this morning. Okay, so I'm gonna say this again. If other people don't want to grow, I'm okay with that. And then listen to what my devotion said this morning. I'm gonna read one line. How do you assist a wounded person when they do not realize or not willing to admit they are wounded? We are talking about mental and emotional spiritual wounds. We're talking about internal wounds that drain the life and force and cripple the spirit. We're talking about wounds that you can recognize because they were so much like your own. The wounds that you are healing have healed. The kind of wounds that at one time you were not aware of and were not willing to acknowledge. The wounds that are so fresh in your memory that you recognize them or see them in the soul of another. You can see their pain, and sometimes you can feel their pain. You can tell that their pain is a result of suppressed anger or embedded remorse. You know they are suffering, but unfortunately they do not agree with you and will not admit it to you. And you want to help them, and they don't think they need help, or they don't want the help. So I said all that to say that, okay? Sometimes you got to be willing to let people stay wounded, okay? And it's hard to see. It's hard to watch. I know. Especially when you see that wound that looked like your wound that you've healed. And you're like, I can help you. Like, let's talk about it. And they're like, no, I don't want to touch it. I don't want to talk about it. It's hard. Just know it's hard, but it's okay. You have to give them the space to, get what they need when they're ready to get it. Okay? I don't know who that's for. Maybe it's just for me or somebody else. I don't know. Holy Spirit, this is what I heard this morning. It was so good. And I thought about so many times where I was in situations and I'm like, I know there had to be angels there, because ain't no way I walked away from that. Ain't no way nothing happened to me. Ain't no way I was in touch, right? Holy Spirit the Holy Spirit is in us. Angels are with us. How many times have you walked away from things that could have taken you out? And I think about times when me and my friends was inside of a club. It was one way we in and one way out, and somebody was literally standing in the doorway shooting. I remember, and we got out of there somehow. And then another time, we was in the car, and we made it to the car, right? We got in the car, and we only know one way to get out of there. It's another way, but I don't know which way we didn't know what way that would lead us to, right? So they were shooting. They were had a whole shootout outside. We literally went down this road we never went down before. Figured it out, okay? It was dark. It was late. We were scared, okay? Nevertheless, I knew that angels was with me. I had an accident. My car flipped, landed upside down. I had to get 10 staples right here. My kids was in the car. They were fine. They had some scratches or so, but they were fine. I know that the angels was with me then. So when I hear that, definitely, and there's so many things I've seen, so many examples I've seen on social media all the time. This young lady car ran into a guardrail. The guardrail came through the car. She was fine. Yeah, I was like, oh my God. Oh, angels. So I just wanted to share that this morning. That just came to my remembrance. But yeah, these are my lessons from this week. So I wanted to share that with y'all. And I hope you have an amazing week on purpose. All right, stay in peace.